congratulations on winning the PraxisAuril Team of the Year award for all this remarkable well, activity you're doing in Cornwall, Isles of Scilly, and this innovation impact and business initiative. And really the purpose of this is just to find out a little bit more, because it sounds marvellous. Yeah, I mean, in reading the nomination, yeah, this is unusual. I'm struck just by how special this is. Very much, it seems to me anyway, driven by sort of underlying regional demand. You know, paucity of regional innovation and the need to create critical mass out of sort of fragmented industries. How did it come about? I mean, whose idea was it? Who wanted it?
Well, thank you, first of all. That's very kind of you, and we're very proud as a team of having achieved this this award and this status now. You're absolutely right that it is a very particular circumstance that we have out here in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Yes, it's true. It is the result of historical challenges that we have here in the region, in terms of the economics, in terms of our dispersed nature of the businesses, in terms of these challenges when it comes to productivity rates and so on. So all of that is true, and I think a lot of the drive behind it from the start is really around the European Regional Development Funding, and you know, that is what builds on the unfortunate circumstance of us having these low indicators and productivity rates in the region. So you know, 10 to 15 years ago, when the first tranches of money came in to Cornwall, and the University of Exeter was in a really good position to be able to sit in between the funding bodies and the external stakeholders. It all sort of started there. Now, the team itself was very small at the beginning, and actually was very active in terms of developing the campus out here and the initial activities. But what our application to the award was about was really the last 5 years now, where we've developed a very, I would say, very complex, but very effective series of hubs that really address the RD&I challenges of the region in a very systematic manner.
I mean, what struck me here is that it's not, many of the initiatives we see are between the university and a business. I mean, I'm interviewing somebody else today about an alliance between one company and the university. But what's happening here is it's typically facilitating engagement between businesses. You've got this research development and innovation hub that this sort of acts as something where businesses come together, and the university is another element, but not necessarily the core element.
Well, absolutely, and I think that that's one of the main reasons for that is really to ensure that there's a long-term management strategy in place. That is particularly important now when the European money is coming to an end and we're thinking about the future. And what we absolutely don't want to have is a sort of top-down funding comes in, university deals with businesses, or university and partners on all the projects deal with businesses, and that's it. So it's been really important for all of our hubs to create the networks and create the business to business and actually enterprise to enterprise, because we work with charities, we work with community groups, and we work with Cornwall Council and all the other external partners, make sure they're speaking to each other as well, creating those networks.
So what is a hub? I mean, two of the major innovations, it seems to me, around the hub and the impact fellows, who we'll talk about in a minute. Well, give us a flavour of what a hub is and what actually happens there and how many of them there are.
Well, I mean, the hub is the term we use to really speak about the programs that we run here in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly that are generally themed around a particular topic. So that hub includes the university and external partners that are the delivery partners on the program. And then within that, you've got specific levels of officers and of managers and a series of these very specialized industrial impacts fellows that sit between the knowledge exchange delivery team and the academics.
Mm-hmm.
What's really important with a lot of the hubs is that they do build on the knowledge of the academics. And actually the academics are brought in whenever necessary, some of them at a much earlier stage, some of them only at the very end. But that academic expertise, which we can actually, we're really lucky, we can draw from this campus, but also all of the University of Exeter's campuses.
Mm-hmm.
They drive some of the work that we do with our external stakeholders on the hub. So
sort of just giving us a flavor of this, is the hub a physical thing or a virtual thing?
it's a little bit of both, to be honest.
Okay, I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, absolutely, because we physically, in a non-corona world, the managers across the hubs, across the programs, sit with each other, essentially, here on Penryn campus. And then all of the other managers and officers and the industrial fellows, they are embedded sometimes within academic departments, sometimes sitting within the Innovation, Impact, and Business office. So physically, yes, we know each other well, we work across each other, but there's a virtual element to it as well, because there are so many external stakeholders, partners, and outside organizations that, and these things overlap. So we work on one program, say TEVI, where I work, we work with a business that may also be supported by another or several other of these hubs. And so there is an overlap across them, which creates the virtual.
Okay, so let's get into this. I mean, you've got these various hubs and they all seem to be configured around a particular sector or initiative. I mean, are these the sort of things that emerged organically, sort of kind of bottom up, or was there some sort of higher level strategic prioritization? I mean, how did these sectors that organize you, how did they come about?
Well, these are sectors that have all, in a sense, needed to be addressed one way or the other because of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly's specific circumstances. So low rates of productivity and innovation, we have hubs dedicated to specifically to innovation. Cornwall and its very particular relationship to the environment, to the value of its environment and so on, we have a specific hub dedicated to environmental growth and the circular economy. The very small and dispersed nature of Cornish businesses, very particular to the region, we have a hub that deals with, basic business support for smaller businesses and helps them, supports them to evolve. So, in a sense, it's a response to the historical challenges, but in a sense, there is an overall picture as well in which these things come together and provide a general framework, and that's where we work together. And that's where when I speak to a business on the program I work on, I know about the other hubs and I know them well enough that it might be that the business could benefit from them as well, or just them, and we're able to speak to each other. And that's where I think the university's huge role within this network comes into play, apart from, of course, the vast academic expertise that backs it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a kind of neutral gathering ground, aren't you? It plays that sort of
Absolutely.
role. And the achievements here look incredible. I mean, you talk about £108 million of induced investment over 3 years, support for 750 businesses. I mean, a couple of questions arising from those stats. I mean, what is still trying to get a grasp of what everybody does all day. What you do to actually unlock these large sums of money, and what you do to support businesses. I mean, there may even be a specific example you can give.
Absolutely. So what do we do all day? I think the best way to think about this is a lot of us on the hubs work as a sort of roving consultancy service. Right. We get in touch with businesses, or businesses are forwarded on to us, and we sit down with them one-on-one, one of us or several of us, and speak to them about what their challenges might be, what direction they'd like to go, and how it relates to our specific theme on the hub. So if you wanted me to give a personal example, I work on the TEVI program. We focus on helping businesses grow, but at the same time, contribute to Cornwall's environment through environmental growth and circular economy. And so many of us on the team, and we're a team of 12 based across 4 organizations, 4 partner organizations led by the University of Exeter. We sit down, speak to our businesses about what are their problems with waste, what are their challenges in terms of connecting their premises to nature. Do they have any questions around recycling or product development or materials or anything around those 2 major themes? And, you know, I have a PhD in biology and experience as a sustainability practitioner. My colleagues are engineers, are buildings specialists, are medical specialists, and so on. And what happens then, like any consultancy, we are able to connect the expertise of the knowledge exchange team to the business's needs. Now, at the same time, those conversations flow back, or up rather, to the broader sort of strategic vision of the program, of the hub. And so then we create these networks around particular challenges, and that's where we bring in the academic expertise as well as the expertise of our various colleagues in knowledge exchange and our external partners. So we are in partnership with Cornwall Council, Cornwall Wildlife Trust, and Cornwall Development Company, and all of those organizations have a vast expertise in very particular initiatives.
And then presumably there's a role once you have sort of gathered a critical mass of need and a common problem. I mean,
Yes.
You're looking then at being able to create a quite a convincing case for support for that area. I mean, that's where the 108 million comes in. You've spotted the need, you've worked out that it's a big enough need, you've configured, you've come to a conclusion of what needs to be done, including the university, but the businesses and other support.
Absolutely.
And then you create that money to support the sector.
Absolutely. And keep in mind that some of that money has also gone into much larger capital costs. And it's gone into grants for businesses. So we run through TEVI a grant scheme. Other programs run even bigger grant schemes or more grant focused. So there are all kinds of ways that money can be dispensed. But the programs are also staffed with enough people that they really are comprehensive in terms of what they can offer. And that's I think a really important point here.
I mean, the growth has been staggering. I mean, I look over the last 3 years, you said the numbers have grown from about 8 to 40. And so what that is telling me is that your various stakeholders see real value in the sort of multiplying effect that your own initiative can have, and are willing to put more into it because they see what they get back out of it.
Absolutely, and I think they've been surprised by it as well. So we have
You've probably been surprised by it as well.
Well, I mean, at first it sounds like an idea, and it sounds like a great idea, but the question is, how do you actually deploy it? And again, if you take the TEVI program that I work on, for example, all of that comes out of Cornwall having what's called an environmental growth strategy written by Cornwall Council. It's a great document, really interesting, but quite vague in terms of delivery. And what TEVI represents, what this hub represents, is a way to deliver it on the ground to businesses, but also, as you say, create an SME, an enterprise-led way to actually overcome these challenges into the long term. And I think the testament to all of this working is that almost every single one of our hubs has been extended beyond its initial funding. And we are currently with TEVI working on our extension under these very difficult circumstances, and all the others have been confirmed to be extended. And so not only have they been successful, but the ministries in charge of this and the European funding bodies have thought that our results were good enough to extend. So I think that's testament to...
So it's clear to see what the region and those other stakeholders, what does the university get out of it? I mean, is it sort of this regional agenda, is part of the overall university mission, or is there genuine benefit, or what are the genuine benefits that keep the university involved?
The university gets a lot out of this. For one, the connection between academics and outside external stakeholders, businesses and enterprises and so on, is really valuable for research. So that's the first aspect.
Sorry, when
Secondly,
you say research, you mean feeding in research problems or providing more compelling research grant applications because you have so many external
both
partners?
actually. So actually overcoming challenges that researchers are thinking about, and actually bringing people in and making those connections. And of course, the second aspect you mentioned is being in a position to have this multi-partner approach when bids come up, and that when we go for bids, we have a much stronger networks of partners and stakeholders. So that's a really important facet for the university. I think in general, the whole concept of knowledge exchange and having a team like ours at Impact Innovation and Business, having a team like ours with, many of us have PhDs or research backgrounds ourselves, to be able to then connect and sit between, as you know, academics aren't always the best at communicating with external stakeholders. Some of them are very good, some of them are much less so, even though they have really good research. And so the university really benefits because those academics that might not be so good at connecting, we are able to amplify their impact, drive their impact, and give them a voice in this as well.
Okay.
But we also benefit from these very strong
and clearly you have
partnerships.
these impact fellows who presumably are embedded in the departments.
Absolutely. So they're a really important part of this because they are slightly more academically inclined than we are, but not as academically inclined as the academics themselves, if you see what I mean. So they sit really between knowledge exchange and the research, and they go to the research meetings. They have supervisors who are professors, but they report back to us on the knowledge exchange team. And so they provide a sort of nuanced entrance point for us on the knowledge exchange team to reach out to all the academic departments.
Yeah. So look, you've grown fivefold in 3 years and clearly multiplied value for the region. We have Brexit coming up, and that's going to inevitably, you've already alluded to the effect that that's going to have. But what's next for you and your team? I mean, are we going to see another application in 3 years' time shouting about a staff of 200?
It's very possible. I think.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought you were going to laugh when I said that. But
not at all. I'm already preparing next year's application. No, seriously. I think that things are going very well in terms of how we're developing the teams, and I think we're also within the knowledge exchange part of the university. We're starting to theme our work a lot better. So going into the engineering, the environmental, the marine, all of these aspects, the themes are really becoming much clearer as these hubs have progressed. What's going to happen invariably is that there's going to be a replacement fund for the ERDF funding, which is going to be announced, and it might be the shared prosperity, it might come from other sources. But we are already preparing for the strategic challenges that we think are going to come up in the Southwest. Southwest is already leading on things like clean growth or environmental intelligence or any kind of net zero type approaches around carbon, around sustainability, circular economy. All of that, the UK Southwest is really not just a national, but even a global leader in parts. And so we are already thinking about that going into the future. And I think that's going to be where we make a huge impact.
Okay, and of course, any shake-up in funding favours entrepreneurial teams, and I have to say, everything you've said and everything I've read, just that's the sense I get out of this. You've got a diverse, highly delegated, you might even call messy, but entrepreneurial, so messy in a good sense, group of people who are heavily in touch with stakeholders and needs. So the turbulence favours you. And it's been, it sounds absolutely great.
What I love about it is really that there's a technical aspect. We're not just sitting in front of spreadsheets. We're going out, we're meeting businesses, we're meeting Cornwall Council and other policy makers. And then we're going to the academics who are highly technical, and we're able to weave all those bits together. And why I love working on this with this team is because my colleagues as well have this interest of bringing the two sides together. And there are very few universities, I think, that have such a large team with so much funding to be able to do this. And,
Yeah.
you know, now with Corona virus and the global pandemic, universities are really thinking about their finances much more than usual. And this whole idea of knowledge exchange and external partners and finding as many sources of income and gaining resilience that way has become a really top priority subject.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we are in position already to be able to deal with that quite a lot better than many others. And I think we're all very proud of that.
Okay. Well, look, best of luck. It'll be lovely one day to meet you physically.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, it has to be through video. So thanks. And, you know, I'm also very pleased that the award itself has been, well, you're chuffed to have received that. And it's great to be able to do that.
Thank you very much. And because of the pandemic, I actually still have the award here at home, but I'm going to be allowed back on campus.
Very good. All right. All right. All the best.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Edvard.
Bye-bye.